son las que están defendiendo los secuestros de mujeres, la desaparición de mujeres, los feminicidios. Son mujeres organizando comunidades, porque son a ellas a las que les roban sus hijos. Y también quiero destacar el rol que tienen las religiosas en América Latina, algo de lo que poco se habla. Religiosas que a veces son invisibles, porque andan vestidas como el resto de sus mujeres y de sus compañeras, no necesariamente llevan un hábito, llevan una cruz. Y están ahí, entre la gente, de manera silenciosa. No han recibido ninguna nómina de arriba hacia abajo, no han sido instituidas, pero han sido constituidas como líderes legítimos por las comunidades. Lo mismo ocurre en África, de lo cual no hablo porque no es mi continente, pero quiero cerrar este speech con el reconocimiento a todas las mujeres de América Latina, de las que he aprendido mucho y a las que tenemos que valorar, y los invito a todos a pensar en reconocimientos amorosos hacia la mujer antes de estar pensando que el reconocimiento de una mujer viene o no por una nómina instituida. Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias, Professor Kuda, for sharing your wisdom with us and for all of the work that you've done yourself to advance the role of women in these important spaces. Thank you. Turning back now to the Weavers of Hope initiative, I'm happy to introduce our first panel for today. Taking the stage are members of our Weavers of Hope judging panel who reviewed over 100 grant applications and had the very difficult task of narrowing them down to just 6 winners. This panel will be moderated by Moira Bonicelli, who will introduce each of the panelists. And Moira, I hand the floor back to you.
Thank you very much, Rebecca. I'm really pleased to be here today with 4 representatives of the judging panel of this award who have a great experience also on the field with regard to the work for women and with women. I would like to mention the 4 speaker ears, but also the other members of the judging panel who deserve really our gratitude and acknowledgement. They with me, Linda Gamova, the chair of Caritas Internationalis Women Working Group and member of this judging panel, Sister Patricia Murray, and Lavinia Rocky Carrera, and Father Joseph Touré. I will introduce step by step each of them during the panel, and I would like to mention the other members of the judging panel: Mache Martin from Caritas Morocco, Lara Puglielli from the DCI General Secretariat, Rebecca Rathbone, who you know now, our Master of Ceremony, but also our youth officer, and Fanny Curé, the coordinator of the RIME network for migration. So really a huge thanks to all of them for the work done. It was a hard work, a challenging work, but really, it was also an enrichment for all of them. I would like to start this short panel to get from their experience a perspective related to the importance of the work, both at grassroots and global level, on women. I would like to start with Linda. Linda Gamova not only is the chair of the Caritas Internationalis Women Working Group, she works at Catholic Relief Services since more or less 25 years, and she works as a partnership advisor with a lot of Caritas member organizations on the field. And as a chair of the Women Working Group, I would like to ask you, in going through many applications from this initiative, as I said, more than 120 projects were submitted, what overarching image and message emerges from this collective work, and what are your feelings and impression about this proposal and these projects that we have got from the field. Thank you, Linda.
Thank you, Moira. First of all, I'm very emotional today because of the event, its nature, but also as a result of very hard work that the esteemed judging panel has done around this. So 120 plus Imagine submissions, and everyone was reviewing more than 25. And we felt overwhelmed by the quality of the submissions, by the depth, by the, see, I'm already nervous, but by the quality and ideas and solutions proposed in each. It was really challenging to pick all these 6 winning awards. That's why really congratulations, and I'll be congratulating. So just to say that personally, and as a team, when we were reviewing these submissions, we saw that needs of women and girls are worldwide. They are cross-cutting the continents, and there are specific needs we were looking at, like needs of women with disabilities, gender-based violence victims, single mothers, refugees and migrant women, young girls. So all the needs of these people were represented in these submissions. So we saw the needs, but the good news is that there were so many great solutions also proposed based on the context, based on the countries, and solutions that gave me hope and everyone hope that by creating employment, by engaging them in decision-making, by advocacy, by increasing income and employment, these needs will be and can be addressed. And just want to echo, just a few minutes ago, we heard about the importance of rights. And again, I'm very hopeful that together, and I'm hopeful coming from Armenia, which saw earthquake, which saw wars, etc., that these issues will be addressed by such great organizations, grassroots-based experience based on their mandate and capacity. So this is what I want to share.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Linda. When we organize events on women, we want that we not just remain among women, for women, with women. We really believe and we are convinced that we can progress only together, women and men. And we are really pleased to have in the judging panel and today with us from Sierra Leone, Father Joseph Touré. Father Joe, for those who are friends since a long time, he's the Vice Chancellor of the University of Makeni in Sierra Leone. The University of Makeni has been created in 2005 when Father Joe was also the Director of Justice and Peace Commission. Father Joe is a pioneer of higher education in Sierra Leone, with the vision for the future emerged after the civil war in Sierra Leone that all of us remember. A time when families were displaced, women suffered serious violations, and an entire generation faced uncertainty. Through concrete actions, Father Joe is a witness of what Waver of Hope means, beginning with outreach to communities where many women could not see a path forward, and ultimately realizing the dream of establishing a university. So, Father Joe, to you, my question is, why was it important to empower women in this sensitive period after the Civil War? And what are the key steps that you, as a leader in Sierra Leone, you have taken to promote women's education and leadership?
Well, first of all, I want to thank Caritas Internationalis for giving me the privilege to share my experiences with this audience, share my experiences with people listening to us. Well, after 10 years civil war, brutal civil war in Sierra Leone, a commission was established, the commission to document the abuse against human rights, look at the historical truth, and to proffer solutions. The commission was called the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. And after documenting the historical truth, the abuses, recommendations were proffered. And one of the recommendations was the government should apologize to women. And all institutions must also make a public apology to women because of the failure of leadership. That struck me. A public apology to women. That we have betrayed our women. So many women were killed, maimed, and brutalized. Women were subject to systematic abuse during the conflict. Violence was really perpetuated against them. And women and girls, they were the deliberate targets of sexual violence and rape by all armed groups during the conflict. The question was, why is it that in moments of disorder and chaos in our world, it's the most vulnerable that bear the brunt of these abuses and war? Why women? That led us to question and ask ourselves, well, where were the best minds? What happened to us? Did our culture not teach us how to respond to women, how to relate with women? Why did they have to suffer the brunt of the Civil War? For me, that led me to begin to think, to reset, to question my faith, to search for the full face of humanity. And that led us, after the war, to begin the process of educating for women's leadership. And so we started a university, a think tank, to begin to address the root causes of the war. And we started the university in 2005. We felt education was a pathway to liberate women, to address, to chart and explore for the full face of humanity. So we started the first Catholic private university in the country. We gave access to tertiary education, which includes both undergrad and postgraduate students. Today, our Minister of Gender is the first female alumna of coming from our university. Also, we enshrine women's empowerment in our strategic plan. And so women's empowerment in teaching, in community engagement, and in research. Researching the causes of the war, the role of women, looking for the historical truth, and profiling solutions. We also prioritize in the strategic plan female empowerment for leadership, leadership at the administrative and faculty level. You have few female deans and heads of department in the country. And today in our university, the 2 provosts of our campuses are female. Female staff are also given a priority for further studies. There is a strategic direction as to recruitment and enrollment of female students and female staff. Community engagement on how to engage women in the country, and especially rural women, are prioritized. We've established a center at the university for safeguarding against vulnerable adults, especially women. We've also established a center of excellence for maternal and child health education, and also a community engagement working in correctional centers with focus especially on female inmates. These are some of the practical solutions after the 10-year Civil War to explore and search for the full face of humanity.
Thank you very much, Father Joe. Thank you very much for your testimony. Not only I'm pleased, but I feel proud to have worked with you many years ago now, and to have worked with the current Ministry of Gender some time ago in Sierra Leone. Thank you really. We are grateful for your testimony and for you coming here, bringing this on our table of reflection. I would like to go now to Lavinia Rocky Carrera, Secretary General of the World Union of Catholic Women's Organizations. Thank you, Lavinia, for being with us today. You have really a privileged point of view, of observation, and you have really a global perspective of what Catholic organizations are doing for and with women. From this point of view, where do you think we stand today, and what can we do more together to advance this work?
Well, thank you, first of all, to Caritas Internationalis for giving me this opportunity to share a reflection on behalf of the World Union of Catholic Women's Organizations. WUCU unites Catholic lay women organizations worldwide with nearly 100 members. They are women that are deeply committed and active both at grassroots level at an international arena. So through WUCU, I have the privilege of witnessing the work of these women across the world. From this perspective, one thing is clear. They are already weavers of hope. In context of poverty, violence, displacement, and also in places of prosperity and stability, women are constantly building bridges and sustaining families. They are leading communities with creativity and resilience. So where do we stand today? I think we stand at a crossroads. On the one hand, we see extraordinary initiatives, women promoting education, defending human dignity, caring for creation, and strengthening the social fabric. And on the other hand, we also see persistent challenges, so lack of recognition, discrimination, violation of rights, limited resources, and cultural barriers that still prevent women from fully exercising their leadership. So what more can we do together? I believe 3 steps are essential. First, visibility. So we must make women's voices and contributions more visible, not only within the church, but also in society. This means telling their stories, celebrating their achievements, and ensuring they are present in decision-making positions. Formation. So empowerment requires knowledge and skills. So investing in their formation of women is key to enabling them to take on responsibilities with confidence. I am thinking not only of professional formation, but also spiritual formation and leadership training. And last, I would say an holistic collaboration at all levels. We cannot promote our values and our mission alone. We need to strengthen ties, promote networks among Catholic organizations, religious congregations, and lay movements, so that together we can amplify impacts and respond to the diverse needs of women. At WUCU, for example, we established an African network to end violence and discrimination against women. This network now operates in 22 different African countries, bringing together WUCU lay Catholic women and religious congregations who work daily at the local level with vulnerable women. And through this project, we have experienced that when encounters and collaborations are encouraged between lay and religious women at the grassroots, they begin to recognize and value one another from perspectives they had not previously considered. At times, they even adopt and adapt each other's best practices. So the most enriching outcomes is precisely this: learning to value one another's work and making it part of one's own. So working in alliance is essential. It may sound simple, but it's a constant challenge. So I would say we are on the way, but we must keep on walking together. And we need to give space to women's voices. We need to equip them, build stronger alliances, so we can truly advance empowerment and leadership. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Lavinia, for having proposed also a way forward, but also for reminding us on the International Day for Human Rights that we still have major challenges to be addressed with regard to respect of women's dignity. And I would like to conclude this round of questions in this panel, even if I would have so many questions to ask to all of you with Sister Pat. Sister Pat, we know her very well. She is from the Congregation of Jesus. She has served as Executive Secretary of the International Union for Superiors General for many years, and she continues to support religious congregations in different ways thanks to her experience, her testimony. Thank you for being here, Sister Pat, after long trips across the world today. And to you, Professor Kuda mentioned in her speech today, religious congregations play a fundamental role in advancing women's empowerment from the grassroots, especially in fragile and extremely poor contexts. So what unique perspectives and actions do religious congregations bring to the table regarding initiatives meant to empower women? And based on your experience, what factors make the greatest difference in the success of these programs? Thank you, Sister Pat.
Thank you to Caritas Internationalis for this wonderful award, Weavers of Hope Award. Even its title, I think, gives us energy and commitment for the future. I think the first perspective that religious women bring is from their founding traditions, from their charism, from their history. Most congregations of women were founded to support the lives and work of women and children. And I think when we look at mission today, the Vatican documents encourage religious congregations, especially women, to reach out and to go beyond and to go to the margins, wherever we find the lost and the least. So religious sisters search prayerfully. They're looking for where the greatest needs are today. They're a voice in the wilderness. They often are they provide a listening ear for those who are in distress. This is part of our way of life as sisters. And I think I'm speaking for the 600,000 sisters who are there across the world, who are looking and prayerfully contemplating how they can reach out and serve women and children. And when they do that, and when we do that, we see that women and children are among the most neglected. They're trafficked and abused, they're subjected to violence, they're treated as lesser human beings in terms of their humanity and in terms of their human rights. And we know that women need to be empowered. So I think the first thing I'd like to say is that women religious will stay in any country or region where there's conflict or violence. They don't leave, they stay with the people, and they're trusted. They're there in times of great difficulty, and that's where deep relationships are built and trust is formed. I can hear the women of South Sudan thanking the sisters for staying with them during the war. And I remember one woman loudly proclaiming, she said, because of our project here, they were making baskets and they were making soap. She said, I have resources, I have money. She said, my daughter won't be judged in the future by the number of cows that she brings. So they were experiencing their dignity and their ability to change their own environment. And because sisters live in the heart of local communities, they become trusted friends and companions. And in the end, I believe that transformation, both personal and communal, depends on relationships. I've seen the male leaders of communities change their approaches to various cultural practices and traditions because of the advocacy of sisters and the witness of their lives. And in a recent report on the work of sisters in Eastern Africa, the following remarks were made, which I think sum up the impact of sisters. It said the sisters have a deep understanding of the obstacles to development in their local communities. They are able to leverage the high levels of trust that the local people have in religious congregations, and thus they can lead them towards enterprise-driven economic opportunities. But the sisters bring with them, if you like, a huge amount of personal resources. They're able to walk alongside people and to transform local leadership. They have a lifelong commitment to serving the poor and marginalised. Through their own knowledge, through their own education and formation, they can use that knowledge to create a sustainable system and inspire others to follow. So I think of the words of Wangari Maathai in her book, The Challenge for Africa. She insisted that if there was to be systemic change, particularly for women, that honest institutions and accountable leadership were essential if there was to be a bottom-up approach to change society and to bring about sustainable development. I believe that religious congregations of women particularly are honest institutions and that they are accountable leaders, and through their examples they're raising up other women to form networks and organisations that equally are honest institutions and where women's empowerment shows the leadership that it is possible to bring about change in society. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much, Sister Pat. I think there are two words that we can take away from what you have said. Stay. Stay where there is a conflict, where there is violence. Stay makes difference and builds trust. And transformation depends on relationship. Building relationships is key to then grow up and make a systemic change. I'm sure not only myself but all of you, we would have many questions to be asked to our friends, but in order also to listen to other voices today and also to acknowledge the winners of the award, I would like to thank Linda, Sister Pat, Lavinia, and Father Joe for being with us and giving back the floor to Rebecca. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks so much to all of you for sharing your wonderful insights in this very interesting panel. And we give another especially big thanks to all members of our judging panel for so generously offering your time to review each application so thoughtfully. And speaking of the applications, who's ready to meet our first round of Weavers of Hope winners? Yay, thank you. I was actually asking. Thank you. Wonderful. So we're so pleased to invite to the stage, just down here where you see Linda, the following organizations who are winners of the Weavers of Hope Small Grant Awards to take an ongoing project to the next level. Please join us Caritas Bangladesh, Caritas Prefectura Apostolique from Morocco, and Fondazione Comboniana nel Mondo Omnilis from the West Bank. Please make your way to the stage. And I'm happy to invite Linda Gamova to stay up here for a little longer to be our moderator for this session. So Linda, back over to you.
Thank you. You hear me, right? Welcome. As Moira said, being chair of the working group and in the judgment panel, I had so much to say. And again, one word which comes to my mind on and on, it's one of the values of Catholic social teaching, subsidiarity, right? So subsidiarity was really well demonstrated in all the submissions. Subsidiarity of those women and girls who are bearing of the needs and the problems, and they find the solution. And these great organizations also came up with the solutions and ways to meet the needs and try to bring the change based on love and dignity. So, as we said, subsidiarity, and now, as Rebecca said, we are giving the floor for those, congratulations, won small grants. So I'll start with Executive Director of Caritas Bangladesh, Dawood Jibon Diaz, with my question related the impact of your project. What do you think will be the major impact of your project in the long term?
Thank you very much. It's a great pleasure and privilege in front of you from Bangladesh, from Caritas Bangladesh. Thank you very much for all these opportunities. For Caritas Bangladesh, through all supports from Caritas Internationalists and Caritas Internationalist member organizations, we are serving the poor and vulnerable people living over there. Yeah, Bangladesh, one of the most disaster-prone country in the world. Small land, more than 180 million people live. So people are everywhere, in the forest, in the island, in the periphery, in the border, in the coastal, in the hills. Peoples are everywhere. And every year people faces disaster, devastating cyclone, floods, river erosion, earthquakes, salinity, every year. And Caritas Bangladesh, they're serving the poor and vulnerable. So the project's prize which is being awarded is in the coastal and in island, where we found many women are really vulnerable, and their image even not being recognized. Their civil rights, their human rights not being recognized there. So we are working there on disaster risk management and climate resilient livelihoods. And our intention to establish active participations of women, especially in the disaster management committee. And also we are working for employment, empowerment, and sustainable livelihoods. So through these projects, we are building groups and establishing strong participations of the women in every groups, especially the disaster management committees and local committees there. We are also ensuring access to loan for disaster preparedness, household needs, and income generating activities. We are providing through the prize projects awareness training, life skill training, and providing the financial support for their income generation. And we also observed and experienced when there are awareness, when there are capacity, skills, when there are appropriate cooperation supports, and when there are livelihoods, it creates employment, and also employment creates the empowerment, and that's bring the sustainable or resilient communities there. In the community level, there are lack of shortage of capacity we see. Even for livestock, we are providing vaccination training and establishing group of vaccinators at the local level. So livestock are being saved through the vaccinators or workers there. So we are also promoting a local leadership as one of the most poor country, vulnerable country around the globe. The women are the backwards. So we are bringing all the women outside of home through our education, training, awareness, group formation, and other human rights program. So women are being now started coming out from their homestead. So they are started new, different livelihoods, and also they are bringing their vegetables, bringing their productions in the market. So we are working, creating the local markets as well with participations of women. So through these projects, the major impact, we are trying to establish the social justice and the leadership inclusion. So participation, employment, and empowerment, and we are working for climate resilient communities. So we are really very hopeful, and today we are inspired. We are motivated to work with more dedication in the grassroots level, in the island, in the vulnerable coastal of Bangladesh through the PRICE projects. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I am pretty sure we're learning a lot what's going to happen thanks to these awards, thanks to your great work. I want to now talk about the project to be implemented in Morocco by Sister Banilda Pereira, who is responsible for the project for activities for women. And the question I have for you, if you can share with us, what are the key objectives of the project?
Muy buenos días. Yo soy la hermana Vanilda de la Congregación Esclavas de la Inmaculada Niña. Vengo de Layún, en el Sahara, representando a Caritas Prefeitura Apostólica, y trabajamos con mujeres ya há mais de um ano, mujeres migrantes que vêm de África subsaariana. E o objetivo principal é o empoderamento da mulher e também a gestão do estresse. São mulheres que carregam muito estresse por sua condição de imigrante e que também são madres solteiras, não têm trabalho e muitas também estão enfermas. Quando ha chegado a notícia que havia ganhado o prêmio, a verdade é que he passado uma noite sem dormir, assim, me he chorado muito e me he emocionado muito de pensar na realidade das mulheres, que muitas vezes as mulheres estão com enfermidades graves, têm o diagnóstico, mas não têm dinheiro para fazer a cirurgia. E eu dizia, pois, como que isso aperta o coração, não? Como dizia, como cristianos não devemos ajudar uns aos outros, pero muitas vezes não temos recursos suficientes para ajudá-las. E são mulheres também que têm muitos ninhos pequenos, e já também grandes que também tampouco não podem ir à escola, são analfabetos, e outros também pequenitos, o que algumas vezes também dificulta a costura, porque é trabalhando com os niños em meio das agujas, pequenitos, e os grandes, pois Caritas tem um espaço também para niños e niñas. Estamos também trabalhando, e nesse espaço, pois os niños participam todos os dias de 9 a la 1 da tarde. E aí, pois, um pouco de alfabetização, cuidamos também da alimentação, que muitos niños vão allá, pero não têm o café da manhã, aí compartilhamos o desayuno com os niños. Damos muito amor, porque os niños também são niños que estão muito assustados, não, por la policía, que la noite os niños não podem fazer ruído, porque a polícia toca a porta. Então, são niños que as madres também, por la condição de estresse, não falam com os niños. Tem muitos niños que passam até 3 meses no local que não falam nada. Tu pensa, e este niño não habla? Pero pouco a pouco vamos ganhando a confiança, e os niños começam a falar também, começam a escrever um pouco, a aprender o alfabeto aí no espaço, mientras Caritas prepara também papel, porque muitos não têm documentos para ir à escola. Aí também como um espaço também de preparação para ir à escola. E as madres, pois, hacemos, eu digo, costura criativa, porque não temos máquinas até então. Hacemos a costura em la mano. Esta é a decoração que lo hacen as mulheres, como trocitos de tela, lo trabalhamos e lo passamos muito bem nesse espaço, não? Como um espaço de compartilhar, não somente a tristeza, mas também a alegria de cada dia. E há mulheres que, quando estão nesse espaço, pois que não querem voltar a suas casas, estão muito felizes aí, como um espaço de amorosidade, né? De acolhida. E, como que dizia, del pequeno se pode chegar ao grande, não? Pois aí, pouquinho a pouquinho, estamos em Layún. E assim que muitíssimas graças por o prêmio, por donar esperança a las mulheres, não? Como a foto que está projetada por aí, não? Então, agora, pois, há esperança, não? De seguir motivando as mulheres, empoderando, para que também economicamente não possa ser algo para vender, e quem sabe de aí pueda ter meios não para gestionar o estresse, para também cuidar da saúde, que também tem muitas que estão enfermas. E muitíssimas graças.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't speak Spanish, but muchas gracias for sure, because we really also appreciated the title of the project, From Healing to Empowerment, and thank you very much for beautiful story you told us and visualization of what you told us. It's amazing. Thank you. So we have remaining 5 minutes. We would like to talk to you. Sister Orietta from West Bank, director of the organization. If you can tell us shortly, if it is possible, what's the value add of your project? Why do you think your project is a sign of hope in the communities?
Thank you so much for thinking of the commitment of the Comboni Missionary Sisters. Thank you so much for thinking, especially in the women that the sisters are following at the West Bank. This prize is for the sisters who are working there. Sister Cecilia, who is, I see in the video, present with us. And I want to read a note that she sent, a testimony that I feel it gives, answer well your question and present the reality as it is in this project. Is not written by Sister Cecilia. Receiving the Weavers of Hope Award fill me with deep gratitude. It is an honor, a privilege, and a profound responsibility. I accept it on behalf of Aisha, Fatima, Taman, Jamila, Khadija, Alia, Sabrina, and the more than 200 Bedouin women in the West Bank who bring the project Threads of Peace to life. This award belongs to them, to their hands, to their stories, to their courage. Every day in the wide, etching silence of the Judean desert, needle and thread slip between their fingers. Through Palestinian tadrets, the ancient embroidery honored by UNESCO, women who once never touched a needle now create beauty that carries their dream. Cards, ornament, bags, bookmarks, small miracle stitched from resilience. In freezing nights and burning days, inside makeshift huts, grandmothers, mothers, and young women gather in cycle of strength. With every stitch, they weave hope. With every lesson, they weave community. I think of Naifa, 58, teaching her granddaughter to embroider while holding her family together. I think of Usha, 36, a widow and second wife, caring for 7 children with quiet strength. I think of Khadija, 34, a mother of 6 who had never touched on a needle, now weaving courage with every thread. I think of Manal, only 18, forced to leave school, yet refusing to let the world silence her dream. Their communities face displacement, demolitions, settled violence, and restriction that would overwhelm many of us. And yet the project Thread of Peace shines as a blessing, creating spaces where they can breathe, create, and heal. For over 15 years, the Comboni Missionary Sisters have walked this desert path with them, trusting, as Pope Leo XIII reminded us, that encountering the poor and forgotten is encountering God in history. And so we stay, we accompany, we listen, we build spaces where dignity can take root and dreams can blossom, even in the hardest soil. This award is not only a recognition, it is a lifeline. It preserves culture, it sustains families, it strengthens the women leadership, economic independence, and their God-given right to be heard, to participate, to dream without fear. As Christmas approaches, may our heart turn again to the Holy Land, to the shepherds on the hills, and to these Bedouin women who still endure the cold winter nights and yet choose hope every morning. May their embroidered threads become bridges, reminding us that hope springs at the margins and that even the desert blooms when solidarity and resilience meet. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Orietta. Thank you very much. Like I said, Sister Orietta is a director, but Sister Cecilia Sierra is on the screen. Unfortunately, she wasn't able to join us. If you can say a few words as representative of the organization and as a project coordinator. Hello, words?
The microphone. Yeah, thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum, shalom. I'm Cecilia Sierra, Comboni sister from Mexico, serving among Bedouin communities in the West Bank, Palestine. And today, as we receive this Women Weavers of Hope Award, really it has been so beautiful to hear the names of these women, more than 200 that were not named for the space, but these are Arab, Palestinian, Muslim, Bedouin women who give life to threads of peace through their hands, their stories, and their courage. Thank you, Sororieta, for for being there, for being present, and to all of you. Really, it's a blessing to be here with you all, women, great women of hope, weavers.
Thank you very much for being with us, and good luck. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. So even with these three examples, you can see the breadth and depth of the projects, right? The needs that will be addressed, the solutions which are proposed, and commitment and love behind all these ideas. So again, good luck with that. So before we give the awards, I want to invite Mahe dear. She's going to tell us what is going to be in addition to the awards and certificates. Tell us.
Thank you, Linda. Good morning, everyone, for being here. We want to share with you the story behind these carpets that are part of the prize we are giving to the winners. These carpets are carefully woven by the skilled women of the Zarbiat Ashbaru cooperative located in the village of Ashbaru, about an hour's drive from Marrakesh in Morocco. Zarbiat means carpet, and through their craft, these women share their cultural heritage with people far beyond their village, their town, and even their region. When the earthquake struck their village 2 years ago, it destroyed everything, including their workspace. Yet women never lost hope. For an entire year, they continued their work in a tent, enduring the cold of winter and the heat of summer. 1 year later, with the support of Caritas Magog and other NGOs, they succeeded in building their own new workspace, larger, brighter, and designed not only for experienced weavers, but also for young girls who had dropped out of school, and now they have the opportunity to learn sewing. These carpets are more than woolen threads. They are the symbols of resilience and renewal. They are hope, and the women, they are the weavers of hope.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm very jealous. I'm not getting this prize. It's beautiful. Thank you. So it's time for celebration, right? To get the awards. Before that, I know that the first one that I'm going to announce is Caritas Bangladesh. But again, the question will be like among so many small grants applications, why these three? So very quickly, I'm going to read the motivation, the justification, and invite for the getting the awards. So the PRIZE project includes all dimensions of empowerment, economic, environmental, and social. Caritas Bangladesh has been implementing the PRIZE program, applying well-tested livelihoods diversification methodologies. The PRIZE proposal will incorporate additional disaster resilience, livelihoods, and awareness raising around gender-based violence in community, disaster preparedness and response, impacting over 2,000 women. Congratulations, please. Yes, now we get the prizes. I guess I need to sing. Please. Amazing. Congratulations. Amazing. Second one is going to be Caritas Prefecture Apostolic Morocco, Espace Femme, and again, from healing to empowerment. This project is devoted to fostering economic empowerment of migrant and local women who face vulnerability. So the heart of this project, as you heard, lies welcoming space that nurtures mental well-being of women. And I want to say that the long-term impact of this project extends beyond sewing and builds resilience and solidarity, promoting women to reclaim their dignity and shape their lives. Congratulations. Congratulations. And last one, please, Sister Orietta, from West Bank, Fondazione Combaniane nel Mondo Onlus. This project, as you heard, leverages historic presence and accompaniment of the Comboni sisters among the Bedouin communities of West Bank. So the activities will empower women holistically in all dimensions. The project will reach 100 women across 10 Bedouin villages. We recognize that the sustainability of this effort is largely guaranteed through the tireless dedication of the sisters. So, congratulations. One sentence. Congratulations.
Okay. Thank you so much to our wonderful award winners for again traveling to Rome today and sharing your projects with us. And thank you most of all for your concrete commitments to advancing women's empowerment in your communities. And of course, thank you, Linda, for moderating. Now I'm happy to give the floor to Sue Amu, Caritas Internationalis' Director of Engagement, who will moderate today's second panel. And I invite all panelists to come forward as well and sit on the top panel here. To make up time, this panel will be shorter than we had originally envisaged in our agenda. So if I could please ask all panelists to keep your comments brief, we will move forward. The second panel will be a discussion between a wide range of experts about how we can and are promoting women's participation and leadership through the three concepts that have come to sum up nicely Caritas's own commitments regarding women's empowerment, which are equality, encounter, and renewal. So Sue, I pass the floor to you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and such a privilege to be part of this forum today and to also have the opportunity to host this panel, but coming after such an amazing award ceremony and hearing testimony of very inspirational stories, I am very, very privileged to be part of this organization and be part of this team that's doing amazing work in the community where it matters. And so this morning we have the privilege to hear from 4 distinguished speakers who will be speaking to us about the work that women do and how together we can enhance women's skills and build their capacity in leadership, but also most importantly, hearing from testimonies from those of us in Caritas who are working in the community to get an insight into the work that we are doing and what more can be done. As part of the panel today, we have Sister Reverend Natalie Baker, who is the Undersecretary, General Secretariat of the Synod of Bishops. Sister Natalie has served as the Undersecretary of the Synod of Bishops since 2021, becoming the first woman to hold this position and the first to have voting rights in the Synod. Sister Natalie, we are very privileged to be with you this morning. So I will ask Sister Natalie her question and introduce the rest of the panel as we go along. So Sister Natalie, when we think of synod on synodality, one of the most frequently highlighted elements is the participation of women, an important development that reflects the active presence of women in both local churches and the universal church. In your opinion, what added value has women's participation brought to the Synod? And based on that, what experience can we take away to strengthen women's participation in leadership in the Church?
Well, thank you so much, and thank you for the invitation to be with you today and to hear about so many stories from women from all over the world, the cry of the woman, but also stories of resilience, empowerment, and leadership. And in a way, that's also the story of the Synod. Maybe first, rather than speaking of added value, of course, it's always good that women give their voices, we know that, but I would like to highlight the many benefits that women's participation in the Synod brought to women, but also to men, and to all of us together, lay people and ordained. And it's true that we have seen how the Synod on Synodality has proven to be, we can say, a soundboard of women's voice, because they have participated at all levels. And in fact, it has been a genuine path to the empowerment of women at the grassroots and through all the assemblies at the continental level, as well as the assembly in Rome. And it was really, if we speak about the Synod, we have to speak about a transformative experience for all of us. So for the women, but also through the women for men. And it's reciprocal. And I think that from the outset, women have participated actively at every stages and also in all commissions. Sometimes we just focus on the fact that 54 women had voting rights at the end. It's symbolic, but the most important was that they have been there at all stages, also as women theologians, serve as experts, and they brought, also their skills, their reflection, their perspective, crucial theological insight. Women form the majority of facilitators during the Synod. David was one of them, but most of them were women, and they were key players to serve this process of listening and discernment. And for me, the main takeaway is that really it's not enough just to have a woman in leadership. It's then what processes so that they really can contribute. And we have seen that when we have that kind of synodal method and synodal processes, it really guarantees that women's voices are listened to, and they can really give their contribution as well as men. And I can also share that many bishops were at the Synod, but also sometimes in their local churches, experience firsthand how the perspective of women enrich their discussions, not only in plenary session, but also during the conversation in the spirit at their round tables. And I give an example, for instance, at the Second Assembly, at a time I was on a round table there were 3 cardinals, bishops, priests, and one young woman from Middle East. But she was really speaking with an authority that was recognized, and she has been elected as a reporter of the group. That is an important role. And because they had this authority also sometimes coming more from their lived experience, their competencies, and also their spiritual wisdom. So not only it was really a true contribution, but I would like also to highlight, that's also a lesson we took up from the Synod, the importance of symbols. For instance, just the fact that there was some women on each table, but also at the president's table near Pope Francis, because we had 2 women as president delegates, it changed the imagination. And from my experience, visibility matters profoundly. We see that. And the experience in Rome was both the fruit of experiences in local churches and also had impact on grassroots level. So for me, I have witnesses that change also with women participation and leadership happens by capillarity and interconnection between all levels. It's not just from the central level, we can say from the Vatican or just from the grassroots, but when all these levels are put in connection, we can say, and I give two examples. I have witnessed how some synod members have become influential voices in their communities because of the fact they were appointed here in the assembly and then coming back to their local churches. Sometimes it was the first time they were asked as theologian or with their expertise to speak to all the bishops in assembly in their bishops' conference. It never happened before the synod. Or another one who was the national coordinator of the synodal team for Ivory Coast, and so who has been involved in different stages of the synod. She was not in Rome, but then she became the first woman in Africa, I think, appointed recently as treasurer of the diocese, also because of her experience. So I just want to conclude that the importance of such processes with the synodal method involving both men and women, they lead to better decisions and they help to overcome unconscious bias or cultural prejudices because you have equal voice and with a good facilitator, everybody is included to participate. And so the crucial step is really now to implement paragraph 60 of the final document of the synod, highlighting that there is an urgent call for more participation and more leadership for women in the church, also in the society. There are many roles that are already possible, but why in many parts of the world they are not yet implemented. So now that's how you make documents implemented in local churches, because there are already many possibilities for women leadership. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Natalie, for that insight. And it sets us very well to the next panel speaker, who is Father Reverend David McCallum from the Discerning Leadership Program. Father McCallum brings with him 25 years' experience in Ignatian leadership, formation, spiritual direction, facilitation, organizational development. And this morning, further, just picking it up from where Sister Natalie has left, we would like to hear about your experience formating women in leadership, particularly to ensure that they can participate and not just be visible symbols up there, which the symbolism is important, but ensuring that they can participate. In your unique view, what contributions do women bring to leadership? And what more can we do together to strengthen that equality, advance the path of renewal, but most importantly, give them the confidence to truly participate?
Thanks, Susan. Well, first of all, I should say how many women have been influential in forming me as a leader, right? And one of them is sitting right next to me, one of my dear friends. You know, it's really a privilege to be able to work with a friend and to learn from her distinct experience internationally about what it means to lead and to offer influence at a global level, really, for the transformation of the church. So thank you, Natalie. By the way, as a Jesuit living in the Curia, I will talk to Father Antoine about paying the heating bill. I have no idea what's going on, but it's very cold in here. You know, first and foremost, I wonder, could we all agree that good leadership is good leadership? Have you all had experiences of good leaders who have been men and good leaders who have been women? Yes? Yes. So good leadership is good leadership. And it usually means that there are certain skills and abilities that men and women take up in their own ways, but not because they're men or because they're women strictly, right? These are influences, in my experience. I would say, what constitutes good leadership? Well, it's not just to be effective or efficient or to achieve one's objectives. It's also about building people up. It's about creating space for opportunity. It's about allowing for the resources to be given to people to develop their capacities. So it goes hand in hand, the sense of achieving tasks, but also tending to people and to whatever impact the organization or community is trying to generate, that impact is a positive one for the upbuilding of people, for communities. When we talk about leadership, I mention task and relationship. Most of us have an orientation in one direction or the other as our primary disposition, right? As leaders, as people who are those exercising influence, whether we have authority or not. Emilsa mentioned very importantly this distinction this morning between leadership and authority. Every one of us can exercise leadership. We may not all have formal authority. That's very liberating. But all of us usually have an orientation to being task-driven or relationship-oriented. And I'm going to ask in this room, if you would, how many of you feel that at the end of the day, what really brings you satisfaction is to have checked some boxes and gotten some things done and moved ahead on your agendas? The other option will be, at the end of the day, who of you doesn't worry so much about what you achieved, but you think about the encounters with people that you had? So how many of you feel that you are primarily task-oriented? Raise your hands. Lavinia, I'm glad I'm not alone. Okay, Alistair, Laura, Joe. Okay, a few of you. Very good. And how many of you feel like you were obviously relationship-oriented, that at the end of the day, it's those encounters that mattered the most? Raise your hands. Okay, some folks are not raising their hands. Okay. Thank you very much, Linda. Good leaders must be able to manage both and at the same time acknowledge we usually have a strong bias for one or the other, which means we can't do it all alone. We can't lead alone. We have to work in teams. Even if we have a good balance, Linda, right, of task and relationship orientation, most of us cannot get the jobs done alone. This is where we start to talk about the differences between men and women, generalizations, which all have their shortcomings. When you think about leadership is different from management in this way. Management is very much about getting things done according to an existing frame of objectives. Leadership is about change. Leadership is about transformation, to use the word that you used this morning, Emilsa. Transformation involves often a radical reframing of what we're doing, how, and why. When we think about how change takes place, if you are task-oriented, one of the biases that a lot of men bring is that change happens from the outside in as a matter of unilateral control. So leadership looks like direction, protection, order. This is a kind of typical male style. It's not exclusive to men. There's many women who lead this way as well, and it's necessary. But one of the things that we're appreciating now with more and more women in leadership is the way in which leadership that is based, first of all, in relationship comes from within the context of interconnectedness and community, and usually has a bias, first of all, for working in a collective manner that is co-determined by the people whose lives are affected by a decision. This is the radical change that we're seeing in the church with synodality, if I'm not mistaken. It's a shift from a unilateral control model to one that is much more open and inclusive and appreciative of this relational approach to leadership, to making change, but doing so in a way that is much more collaborative, much more, in a sense, interdependent and co-determined as people make decisions together, as people act with their agency together. You and I know we are living in a moment in history where more of this kind of leadership is a healthy antidote, what my indigenous friends call good medicine for the abuses of power that we see today. The abuses of power in every sector, especially in the political sector. So I am hopeful that with attention to the ways in which relational leadership can be not just an asset, a value add, that it is in fact an important remedy for a lot of the excesses of the abuse of power, unilateral power in our times. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much, Father, for those insights and for really helping us understand the two aspects to leadership, but most importantly, what the good medicine for abuses of power is. And on that note, we move on to our next speaker, who is Angie Zahar from Caritas Egypt. Angie is a youth and leadership program manager at Caritas Egypt. And this morning, she will bring in some insights into the work she does in the field, but most importantly, insight from a youth perspective. So Angie, what has been your experience as a young woman working every day at the service to meet the needs of the poor, the vulnerable, but most importantly, thinking about your youth? Has it brought advantages or specific challenges?
Hello. Thank you so much for the best introduction. Actually, I'm so lucky to join here today, and thank you for the invitation for Caritas International. And for me, yes, working every day alongside vulnerable communities has shaped me for more than any title or position I have held, whether accompanying individuals recovering from addiction, engaging with families under pressure, or supporting young people searching for opportunities. I have learned that real change comes through listening, patience, and presence. My experience also taught me to respect dignity, value small steps, and understand that services it's a responsibility, not only a rule. They also showed me how women, even in thought context like addiction that where I work right now, are essentially in building care, trust, and hope. And many mothers or sisters or wives were the backbone of recovery for their loved persons who are addicts, or maybe women or men. They were the real waves of hope. And actually, for my experience, for it advantage me or challenges, I think for me, I feel that my youth allows me to bring openness, energy, and creativity to my work, and many young beneficiaries feel naturally wanted to share something with me from their hopes or problems or challenges, because they just feel that they are near or close to my age. And that's why I like to also to work with the youth group, and also I'm lucky actually to be from the youth group Caritas International. So, but my goal to strengthen women's participation is simply let them speak, let them lead, trust them in real responsibility. Especially young women, actually, they are given if they given space, or they don't just fill it, they will also transform it. Their leadership brings empathy, balance, and a deep sense of responsibility, and makes the decision more compassionate and inclusion and sustainability. So for this answer, I think makes sense. And also I have like 3 steps or particular steps that when give it to women, it could be helpful for themselves, like great pathways, not just opportunity, because I think many women have the skills but not the access. And second thing, I think we have to build like a good communities of support to women. And the third one, and finally one, to just recognize women's invisible work. Communities building are often done quietly by women, are really acknowledged as a leadership. And finally, for me, I think we have to work together and also bring young women or youth also to the field or the communities. I think we are a part of a change and we can create a change. Thank you.
Thank you, Angie, for bringing in that perspective of young people and reminding us that we must support women, that women are the backbone. I think that's something we've had throughout this session, and that they often do things in the background that are unseen. And so, like in the case of West Bank, we must name those things, we must call them out, and we must celebrate them. So thank you. And last but not least, we have Dr. Jeanette Rincon from Caritas Venezuela. Dr. Jeanette is a pediatric specialist with extensive experience in primary health care, health education, social research, and program management. And today we want to hear from Dr. Rincon, from her perspective being a community advocate, but also speaking to the mental impact that women suffer in the different contexts that we've heard about this morning. But more specifically, when we think about mental health challenges, particularly affecting women and girls, becomes critical issues to address. From your experience in the field, Dr. Rincon, what can you share about these challenges? What is Caritas' work doing to strengthen women's resilience, to bring hope to these communities?
Thank you very much for the invitation. Today I'm going to follow the steps of Dr. Emice Cuda. I'm going to speak in Spanish. Ahora tenemos 7 años de una crisis humanitaria que no hemos superado. Que por cierto, una crisis humanitaria en Venezuela que se visibiliza justo por el trabajo de Caritas en un país sin información. Ahora la vemos reagudizada, por ejemplo, en cifras de desnutrición infantil. Tenemos 29,6% de los niños ya con una desnutrición instalada o con un alto riesgo de padecerla, al igual que las mujeres embarazadas y lactantes. Tenemos problemas económicos, 220% de inflación. Tenemos a los deportados y retornados, nos están llegando 2 aviones a la semana desde Estados Unidos con personas deportadas que incluyen mujeres con sus hijos. Pero además de eso se nos suma otra amenaza que efectivamente está afectando la salud mental, que es la amenaza de invasión de Norteamérica, de Estados Unidos, al país. Un país que tiene las costas en el Caribe más amplias, más bellas, las mejores playas. Tenemos 12 unidades de la Armada norteamericana rodeando todas estas costas. Y esto ha generado una tensión adicional, de manera que las personas no solamente están preocupadas por su supervivencia, por cómo se van a alimentar. Tenemos 70% de las familias que atiende Caritas en una situación crítica de seguridad alimentaria, sino que se suma este temor, esta tensión, esta incertidumbre. Entonces, ya según estudios de la Universidad Católica Andrés Bello, con quienes nos hemos aliado para responder a los desafíos de la salud mental, nos hablan de un 89% de desconfianza, nos hablan de problemas de ansiedad, de depresión en la mujer sobre todo, y esto se suma. ¿Cómo estamos respondiendo ante estas situaciones que van generando angustia? Bueno, la verdad, reforzando lo que ya hacemos, ¿no? La doctora Emilce nos hablaba de cómo el liderazgo surge en las bases y en las periferias. Entonces, un poco reconocer ese liderazgo. El 70% de los hogares que nosotros atendemos van liderados por mujeres. De manera que vamos reconociendo esto, focalizando las ayudas a los hogares liderados por mujeres, reconociendo que justamente el servicio que se presta también es un espacio de sanación. Por ejemplo, cuando hacemos las ollas comunitarias para alimentar a la comunidad, muchas veces lideradas por mujeres también, todo esto, se convierte en un espacio de diálogo, de sororidad, de apoyo mutuo, de drenar toda esta ansiedad. Así que estamos reconociendo ese beneficio adicional y promoviendo estos espacios. Luego, también un poco, apoyando, protegiendo, porque en esta sociedad de desconfianza que es Venezuela, entre las instituciones que siguen teniendo cierta credibilidad, la Iglesia está en primer lugar. Ahora, ¿por qué está la Iglesia en primer lugar? ¿Es por la Conferencia Episcopal Venezolana? ¿Es por los párrocos? ¿Es por las mujeres que van caminando con su pueblo, que se hacen cercanas, ¿verdad?, que acompañan? Y esto también, digamos, hay que reconocerlo y promoverlo, ¿no? De manera que un poco la respuesta es seguir dando estos espacios, focalizando algunos programas. Por ejemplo, la campaña cuaresmal que hacemos todos los años, este año 2025 se dedicó a la salud mental. Todos sembramos esperanzas, juntos sembramos esperanzas y cosechamos salud mental. Se promovió a través de esta campaña grupos de ayuda comunitarios, se produjeron una serie de materiales, de folletos, etcétera. Comenzamos actividades de capacitación en primeros auxilios psicológicos, por ejemplo, visitas a hogares, de manera que también por digamos, en ese aspecto hemos venido trabajando y creo que lo más importante, la alianza entre las organizaciones. Caminar juntos, por ejemplo, con la Escuela de Psicología de la Universidad Católica, nos ha brindado muchos frutos.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rinkan, for that insight and for reminding us the important work that Caritas is doing in the field. As we mark our 75th anniversary, this is an opportunity to remember why we are here, why we do what it is that we do. And to the panel, thank you so much for making time to be with us today and for sharing your insights. We appreciate you very much.
Thank you so much. Are we on? Thank you so much to all of our panelists for sharing your insights with us, and of course for everything you're doing to promote women's empowerment in each of your fields. And thanks, of course, Sue, for keeping us all together. It's 1 o'clock, so I'll thank you in advance for your patience. We do have one more round of awards to give. And so the three organizations, excuse me, that you're about to meet will receive large grants to start new projects that are designed to empower women in their communities. We're so happy to invite now to the bottom panel here representatives from Caritas Malawi, Radio Ucamara, Instituto de Promoción Social Amazonica from Peru, and online we'll be joined by Caritas Antilles in St. Lucia. This session will be moderated by Laura Puglieli from Caritas Internationalis and Mahe Martin from Caritas Morocco. And again, I'll invite our remaining speakers to please keep your comments brief in the interest of time. In the words of Pope Francis, less is more. So I think this is absolutely true today, as in regular life as well. So I'll give the floor to you, Laura and Mahe, and thank you for moderating this next session.
I feel like we're the the last member of the relay team that's expected to make up all the time, that everyone else slowed down. Welcome, hi, you made it. So welcome everyone to the last session, and we have Marcia online. So we have Marcia Haywood, Regional Coordinator of Caritas Antilles online. We have with us Father Joseph Sikwezi, Secretary General of the Bishops' Conference of Malawi with us. And I believe we have Chimwemwe Sakunda, Coordinator of Caritas Malawi online. And then all the way from Peru, we have Gabriela Jaramillo Sangama and Dana Gaviota Tello More from Radio Ucamara. I'll just say briefly, as a member of the selection committee, it was extremely difficult to choose. We divided up into pairs, and each pair we reviewed only 1/4 of the total submissions. And it was even hard for us to choose among the 25%. And then we came to the bigger group and we learned about all the wonderful proposals from the other groups as well. But one thing really stood out, and that's really the common challenge is and that women face all over the world, and that we're all just seeking to restore dignity, to bolster assets and tools that women use to assert their leadership, and then to make that women's leadership visible. That's really something that stood out across all of the submissions from all regions of the world, and we have a beautiful representation of those approaches today. So I'll start just asking Marcia, if you don't mind going first, Marcia. If you could very briefly, maybe in just a couple of sentences, express how your project is a sign of hope for the communities that you serve.
Thank you very much. And I'm deeply honored to receive this award on behalf of Caritas Antilles. And our project is destined to incarcerated women at the Bordelais Correctional Facility in St. Lucia. And this is a representation of women who are forgotten in our society, who face cycles of poverty, violence, marginalization, and limited access to education or livelihood opportunities. Our initiative aims to restore dignity, strengthen emotional and spiritual well-being, build economic dependence, and support their successful reintegration into society. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Marcia. So I'll ask Father Joseph if you could respond similarly and maybe express your hopes for how the project that will be implemented by Caritas Malawi will positively impact women, their families, and communities over the long term.
Yeah. First of all, it's also a great honor for us from Malawi to receive this award, Weavers of Hope Award. First of all, maybe I can explain that women in Malawi face so many challenges. For example, they have limited access to financial resources, harmful cultural practices, weak market linkages, and also gender-based violence. And through this project, which the title is Her Voice, Her Power, Transforming Communities Through Women's Social and Economic Empowerment, we are going to reach out to about 1,000 women who are organized in 5 cooperatives. These are women farmers whom we have organized. But through this project, we would like to take them at another level. For example, providing them with a digital literacy, that is mobile money, digital record keeping, WhatsApp marketing, and also introducing local solar innovations such as dryers, irrigation pumps, cold storage, and charging hubs. Thirdly, strengthening leadership circles and mentorship for women. Then raising awareness through community advocacy, radio programs, exchange visits, and lastly, creating knowledge corners for finance, rights, climate-smart agriculture, and gender-based violence prevention. And in the words of late Pope Francis, during his address on women, peace and security in 2019, women are givers and mediators of peace. They must be fully included in processes where decisions are made. These words challenge us to remove every cultural and structural barriers that limits leadership and dignity of women. We believe that when women are empowered, families also are empowered, communities are empowered. And we hope that through this project, these women will be empowered, and this project will give them hope.
Thank you so much. I'm seeing Chimwemwe online. Hello. Is there anything you'd like to share briefly from Malawi?
Yes. Hello. Thank you so much. I think I don't have much to say, but just to say thank you to CI and the panel of judges for awarding us this grant. It's a great motivation to Malawian women. And of course, beyond, we are greatly honored and we look forward to further engagements. But thank you so much. And thank you, Father Joseph, for representing us. Good to see you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Chimwemwe.
So I will continue in Spanish for our colleagues from Peru. Buenos días, buenas tardes ya. Creo que habéis tenido un viaje muy largo. No hemos tenido ocasión de presentarnos antes, entonces me disculpáis, no sé si eres Dana o Gabriela. Dana, para dirigirme a ti. Bueno, respecto al proyecto que habéis presentado de Radio Ucamara, me gustaría si pudieras resumirnos en una frase por qué este proyecto es un signo de esperanza para la comunidad.
Hola, buenas tardes con todos. Muchas gracias por la bienvenida. Acabamos de aterrizar recién, así que estamos un poco cansadas. Me disculpan si estuve pestañeando por ahí. Estoy escuchando algunos de los proyectos y creo que tenemos mucho en común. Radio Ucamara es una radio comunitaria en Loreto, Nauta, a orillas del río Marañón. Somos un pueblo cucama y desde hace mucho tiempo ya hemos emprendido un camino de reivindicación como pueblo, y para ello ha sido crucial y muy importante el papel de nuestras abuelas, que son mujeres que se han atrevido a revitalizar la lengua cucama, han vuelto a hablar la lengua y nos la han enseñado. Creo que ese ha sido un punto importante para el trabajo de la radio, que ha hecho mucho muchos espacios intergeneracionales con nuestras abuelas y nosotros cuando éramos pequeños, porque es un trabajo de ya hace muchos años. Entonces hemos ido participando y también encontrando fortaleza en nuestras relaciones con el territorio y sobre todo en mi pueblo. Las mujeres brindan a la comunidad la camatía, que es la leche materna, pero también el dulce del corazón. Y cuando las mujeres transmiten eso en la bebida, hacen que la comunidad, las personas que la beben, se unifiquen más. Entonces la radio lo que hará con este proyecto es justamente alimentar estos espacios de empoderamiento para la mujer, en el que se haya reconocido estos espacios comunitarios también que tenemos dentro de nuestro pueblo, y sobre todo para las nuevas generaciones que están viniendo en un mundo de mucha discriminación y violencia, también generar espacios donde podamos estar seguras y sentirnos mejor. Hemos tenido algunas intervenciones a través de la radio, como círculos, programas, chicas comunicadoras también que están capacitándose para hablar sobre temas importantes como lo son la violencia sistemática que hemos sufrido los pueblos amazónicos alrededor del mundo y otras poblaciones, ¿no? Entonces es importante para nosotros y estamos muy agradecidos de que nuestros proyectos se apoyen, porque va a alimentar muchos espacios dentro de la radio. Usurpaqui.
Muchas gracias. I think Mahe and I will get an award for keeping our time. What's really beautiful about all of these projects is the diversity of approaches, and I think what we will all learn from each other through the process. I hope we have the opportunity to, if not meet again in person, to at least learn what the impact and results have been, because I think there's just so much richness in the variety and the diversity that we see across these award winners. So with that, I think we will move to the award presentation session. Sorry, we have a technical difficulty. What's up next is similar to the first round. We're going to read briefly the rationale for choosing each project, which is what we're searching for now. And then we'll invite those who will deliver the awards up to present to each of the winners. Okay, just 1 second. Sorry, Moira. I'm betting that it's my fault. Okay. So first one we will award is to Caritas Malawi. Caritas Malawi's submission is an integrated and multifaceted initiative which incorporates women's participation in leadership and decision-making, strengthening their economic empowerment, supporting sustainable use of environmental resources, and engaging in activism against gender-based violence and other barriers to women's full participation in society. The project introduces innovative, low-cost solutions, including solar technologies. The reach of this project is significant as it will directly benefit 1,000 women in 5 cooperatives. This project is designed to create lasting impact by combining skills development, collective marketing, and knowledge sharing with targeted awareness campaigns on gender-based violence, women's rights, and equitable resource use. Congratulations, Caritas Malawi.
Second,
I don't know where the camera's here.
Second is Radio Ucamara. Reconocemos a Radio Ucamara por su extraordinaria labor con una de las comunidades indígenas más aisladas de la Amazonía peruana. A través del arte, el conocimiento ancestral y la comunicación comunitaria, el proyecto impulsa un diálogo intergeneracional en el que abuelas y mujeres jóvenes recuperan sus voces, defienden sus territorios y luchan contra la violencia con creatividad y fuerza colectiva. Sus objetivos claros, el fuerte arraigo comunitario y su impacto cultural y político a largo plazo lo convierten en un ejemplo poderoso e inspirador del liderazgo de las mujeres en la construcción de paz. Esta iniciativa encarna el espíritu de este premio, promoviendo la dignidad, la resiliencia cultural y la esperanza donde más se necesitan.
Felicidades. Okay, finally to Caritas Antilles. This project stood out because Caritas Antilles is honoring the dignity of a group of women who are often forgotten and shunned by society, women in prisons. This Jubilee year encourages us to remember that we are all beacons of hope, and we all have dignity that cannot and must not be denied. To shed light on this, Pope Francis opened a fifth holy door in Rome, in addition to those in the 4 papal basilicas in the Rebibbia prison, so that those who cannot come to the holy doors because of their imprisonment still have the opportunity to experience the hope and spiritual renewal of the Jubilee year. By reaching out to this specific group of women, Caritas Antilles is reaching to the farthest fringes of some of the world's most marginalized people and empowering them to come back to the center of communities.
Can you see that, Marcia?
Thank you, Alistair.
Great. Thank you so much, Father Joseph and Chimwemwe, Dana, and Marcia, for sharing your projects with us and being with us today. And thank you, sir, for being such champions of women's empowerment. We can't wait to see how your projects take shape over the next year and beyond. And thank you so much, Lara and Mahe, for moderating the session. And if I had an extra trophy for being on time, I would give it to you. So we finally reached almost the end of our program, but before we close, I'd like to invite Alistair Dutton, the Secretary General of Caritas Internationalis, to give his closing reflections on the Weavers of Hope initiative. Alistair. No, I haven't. Grand. Thanks, Rebecca. And I'm very conscious that the most important women's leaders in the building at the moment are downstairs with hot food, so I shall keep this brief. But when I reflect on these awards and the wonderful organisations and the projects and the amazing work that's going on, when we conceived of Weavers of Hope and we were thinking through the year, obviously it was situated within the Jubilee Year of Hope. And there's a wonderful thing when we kind of reflect and look backwards, that I think we can see the work of the Holy Spirit. And
the Holy Spirit always gives us the grace we need for the particular times we're in. That phrase, your grace is enough for us. And I think when I look back at this year, and the trials that we've seen this year, if we look at some of the geopolitical developments, if we look at the funding for our work, the funding for all of this work of women's leadership, and how much money we've lost, what a gift and inspiration it is to have had a Jubilee year of hope this year. And so our Weavers of Hope are very much part of that gift that we've received this year of hope. And I think hope is such an important word and so true of everything we've heard about today in the work that we've heard in the 6 projects who have won the awards, but actually to remember all the projects that applied and to see that hope spread to every corner of the world. And we've heard a few reflections in the course of the morning. There are those about how we build a commitment to women's leadership, how we build a commitment to a just world with the full face of humanity into our institutions. And different people have talked about different bits. So Joe talking about the importance of a strategic commitment and how we build that in to our strategic intent. To Pat talking about honest institutions and institutions that are brave enough to look in the mirror, to step back, be silent and listen, and to really hear where the need for that constant conversion is still present and how we need to respond in order to meet that. We need our trusted leaders and we need to be trusted leaders. And we always knew that women were a major part of our trusted leadership. And yet we see a growing realization and welcoming into the room of those women who were always such powerful leaders. And as David said, who we all know played such vital roles in our own formation. So to see them being recognized and brought into the room. And then the comment about the processes and structures that are so necessary if we're to build these commitments into our organizations in the day-to-day and to make it subconsciously part of how we behave. And to David's dichotomy and different ways that it's come out today, you know, there's a theory of history that talks about the history of great men. And typically it's been great men. They haven't always done great things. And then there's a reaction against that says, no, history is the endeavor of humankind, male and female, all together. And to isolate individuals and say these were the key things in history doesn't do justice to that great arc of integral human development that is the history of humankind. And so that journey of synodality is a recognition that it's not about the great autocrats, the great leaders, the great men, as it were, but it's a much more shared endeavour as we grow together. But I think what comes through most strongly in all of our projects is the essential charism of Caritas and the church and all the different organisations and bits of the church, which is around solidarity and subsidiarity. And our place at the most local levels. And we talk in abstractions and we aggregate things to talk about big themes, But we know at the heart of all of those themes are real people at the coalface doing the real work. And that's where hope comes alive, really. So when people say to me, in the midst of all of this, how do you find hope? It's when I talk to the people who are running these programs, the people who are in the project sites and who are encountering day by day in their communities. And it is always mutual. It is never a one-way street. It's always in those relationships and encounters that we find one another. And that's where so many of the examples of female leadership are the great beacons of hope. It says in the song that the first cut is the deepest. So forgive me one story for a moment, which was in India, just across the border from Bangladesh. In 2001, there was the Gujarat earthquake. And I was with CAFOD at the time. I was sent to Gujarat and working with Caritas India. And we had the immediate response, and then we went into the big reconstruction. And as we were working in the 13 villages that we completely reconstructed, as we set it up, the first thing we said was, before we will start, we need village committees. And there were 12 people on these committees. And we said there has to be at least 2 women on every committee. And the villagers, the men, really did not want this. So 2 wouldn't be enough today. I don't think we'd settle for that. But we are looking 25 years ago. And we did hold out for at least 2 women on every committee, which means it was 2. It was never more than 2. But the woman I remember, or the instance I remember most, was one woman on this committee who was elected initially. She didn't believe she had a right to be on that committee, let alone to speak. And so she was in the room, but she was at the back of the room and she never spoke. But I kept going back. And Caritas India and the animators of Caritas India were working with the committee throughout. And gradually, you watch this woman find her voice. Well, by the end of 2 years, she was running this committee. She was the most powerful force in the room. And thanks to this woman, the houses actually had kitchens. I know it sounds basic, but the men didn't know where to put the cooking facilities or how to lay out the houses to make sure it would work for the families when they came. And so we moved from a real issue of leadership and justice to a very practical issue of how we're going to feed the family. And it just really drove home to me at that early age the importance of making sure that the full face of humanity is there, so the full reality of daily life is there. But the other side of that story is that the committee put enormous pressure on the father-in-law and the husband of this woman to say she can't be on this committee. Please shut her up, take her home and take her off the committee. And the 2 men, to their credit, said, no, she should be there and we will back her. And I think it's that recognition when we were talking about it, we don't want a panel of all women because we can only make this journey if we make it together. And so that's the importance of that strategic commitment of Caritas, and then the way we bake it into our processes and our procedures so that we journey together to advance women's leadership as a whole. Thank you.
I'm a lot shorter than Alistair. Thanks so much, Alistair, for your reflections and, of course, for your own leadership in keeping women's representation and empowerment a priority across our Confederation. So with this, we did it. We reached the end of our event. And we'd like to end by extending a big thank you to all of our speakers who took time today to so generously share their insights with us. Thank you as well to the Jesuit Curia for hosting us today in their beautiful space. And of course, we also give a big thank you and a final congratulations to all of our amazing Weavers of Hope award winners. Thank you for traveling all this way to be with us and to share your testimonies about what wonderful things can happen when we empower women to contribute fully and authentically in our communities. And to just a quick note to the award winners, please stay in this room when we end because we want to take a couple of more pictures and do some interviews. So if you're taking home some hardware, please stay here for a little while longer. And a final thank you as well to all of those who have been working so hard over the past year to get us to this important milestone. I hope that this day has been a good celebration for you as well, and that you're very proud of what you've achieved so far and of the legacy that your efforts will leave for years to come. And finally, thank you to all of you here in Rome and those of you joining online for spending this time with us. We hope you're leaving here or signing off feeling hopeful, and that your own stories, experiences, and ongoing work are now woven together with those that you've heard today. So let's all go forward through the rest of this Jubilee year and beyond together as Weavers of Hope. Thank you. Sorry, Laura, I didn't realize you didn't have
Recording stopped.